officers and agents of the Department of Homeland Security work around the clock protecting America's borders. They're the front line in a non-stop war against drug trafficking, illegal immigration, and terrorism.
This is where it starts, you know?
Alright, I would rather keep watching the video, but I have to stop it because it won't be so long. Okay, so the video you just saw was from a show called Border Wars that airs on National Geographic, and it's all about, as the video said, the agents that guard the U.S.-Mexico border and the drugs and human trafficking that go on near the border. And this is what my speech is about. I'm going to be talking about the U.S.-Mexico border and the agents that guard it, the drugs and human trafficking that take place, and the cartels that operate near the border. So first things first, the Border Patrol agents. They're Homeland Security agents or police officers near the border, and it is their job to watch the port of entries for northbound and southbound. So anything that comes in and out of Mexico, they're inspecting all the vehicles with x-rays and dogs, and they actually have someone whose job it is to literally just stand there and watch cars pass them and just stare them down for about 3 seconds, and then they have to make a split-second decision about whether they think that person could be holding drugs or money or weapons for the cartels. So I thought that was an interesting job to just stand there and stare at people. They also, another big thing that they have to do is immigration. People who cross illegally tend to go at night, and then they go through the border, or they go through the deserts to avoid heavy areas to be spotted, because they don't want to be spotted. So a lot of times these agents have to go track down and round up these illegal immigrants, or if they're lost, it'll become a search and rescue mission, and they have to rescue them before deporting them. Once the illegal immigrants are captured, they'll be detained and either deported the next day or two after detainment, or there'll be charges pressed against them if they were carrying drugs or weapons or money, depending. So it depends on the situation. And if there's kids involved, they'll be handed over to the Mexican government for processing. The next thing I want to talk about is drugs and human trafficking. Every day, drugs are smuggled into the U.S. and money and weapons are smuggled out of the U.S. To the cartels. And I don't know about you guys, but I've always kind of wondered how the drug business still makes money after there's constant drug busts, they're always seizing money. Well, it turns out, I'm just going to give you a quick price thing on methamphetamines. I didn't know this. According to pbs.org, a kilo of methamphetamines costs about $300 to make, yet it sells on the streets for $60,000. So it's these huge profit margins which keep the drug business going, and it's a $30 billion industry. And the pbs.org actually gave an analogy, and they said if these profit margins were applied to actual businesses, it would be like Chevy making 1 million Corvettes and only selling 100,000 of them, so they would still have 90% of their inventory and still managing to make a profit. So these are the kind of numbers we're talking about. There's also kidnapping near the border constantly. Cartels and other lone no-gooders capture people and force them to carry drugs across the border, or they kidnap women and force them into prostitution. And we've already heard some speeches about that. It's kind of scary. And this is usually done through an organization. All the drugs and human trafficking is usually run through some sort of group, such as a drug cartel, which is my next point. And a drug cartel, for those of you who don't know, is an organization usually operating on the Mexico side, but it spills into the U.S. and they have connections to the Middle East. And it's run like a business. There's a head guy who runs the whole thing, and then they have sub-managers kind of who run districts, and then the runners who deal with all the drugs. And the U.S. has actually branded the cartels as terrorist groups because they've been working so closely with the Middle East terrorist groups, because that's where they get all the drugs. And it's gotten really scary down there recently because the cartels have actually stolen military police uniforms and are posing as Mexican police officers and occasionally United States police officers, so people down there don't know who to trust. And it's gotten really dicey, and so they're constantly having to change their uniforms, but that's just made it even more confusing because now you don't know what the new uniforms look like. So you're seeing 4 or 5 different uniforms out there. So to recap, I talked about Border Patrol agents, the drugs and human trafficking, and the cartels that run them all. And I just want to emphasize that the agents down there are risking their lives daily to protect us from the criminals that are constantly crossing the border illegally. And I actually want to close by saying that things could actually be getting a lot worse down there, because how many of you, by show of hands, have heard of that? The group Anonymous? Hacker group? So just a couple of you. The Hacker Group Anonymous is a collection of hackers over the internet who's remain anonymous. That's what their name is for. And they've threatened to release the names of the members of the drug cartel Los Zetas. And if they release the names, that could become an all-out war between several cartels. So that's just something to keep an eye on for the next few days.